everybody, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Judy and I'm here on behalf of Amalgam Staycation, and they were kind enough to offer to do a cooking class so that all of you can enjoy some wonderful delicious food. So today I'm going to be making a risotto. It will be a mushroom risotto, but if you are not a fan of mushrooms, you don't have to use mushrooms. You can use broccoli, you can use peas, you can use chicken. There's all kinds of varieties of risotto you can make, but the basic risotto is what I'm going to show you, and I'm just going to throw some mushrooms in because I like them. So we'll start with the ingredients, which is mushrooms, a small onion. I'm actually going to use just half because it's not as small as I would like, or a shallot. I just didn't happen to have any. A couple of cloves of garlic. I'm using a splash of white wine. It is an option. Obviously, the risotto rice, which is arborio rice. Some stock. It can either be chicken, vegetable, whatever is your preference. If you want to make it vegetarian or vegan, you'll go with veggie. If you want it non-vegetarian or vegan, you'll go with chicken or a mixture. And then either butter or olive oil or a mixture of both, and some Parmesan cheese to finish. That's it. It's simple. So we're going to get going. And the first thing you want to do is put your stock on to boil, because you don't want to add cold stock into your risotto. So I have 4 cups of stock, which will be for 1 cup of risotto rice. So it's 4 to 1. And I'm just going to let that heat up. While that's heating up, I'm going to prep our onions, our garlic, and our mushrooms. I will put the Parmesan aside since we don't need it right now. I do have a little touch of butter in the pan, but to avoid butter from burning, just put in a splash of olive oil, or just use olive oil, whatever your choice is. There's no rule. And I will start my element, but not too hot because I have some chopping to do and I don't want my butter to burn. So the first thing to do, we're going to smash some garlic. So just take a few cloves. I've got 2.5, I guess you would say. Always have a sharp knife. Sharp knives save fingers. Believe it or not, you're better off with a sharp knife. So you have your sharp knife, you're gonna lay your garlic on your cutting board, lay your knife on top of your garlic, and give it a whack. And you're gonna do that with all 3 pieces, and that literally breaks apart the garlic and removes the skin fairly easily, and you just pop the skin right off. So here we go. So you're not spending piles of time cleaning garlic, which is not really a lot of fun. There we go. Okay, I think I got it all. And we're just gonna give it a bit of a rough chop. It's nothing, it's more for flavor than it is for anything else, because garlic is flavorful. And everybody knows in Italian cooking, they love garlic. So do the garlic, minced up fairly small, doesn't have to be perfect. That will go in our pan. And I'm gonna chop half an onion. Move the outer layer. Don't bother trying to peel all the little skin off. Just take off an extra layer. It's only onion, you're not gonna miss too much. And just a chop as well. And then these are just your aromatics, which bring you flavor. And again, a little bit of watch your handles. A little bit of a quick chop. And that's that. Easy enough. And your mushrooms. So we're gonna do, and all this time the stock is starting to heat up. So by the time all this starts coming together, your stock should be ready. So that's your mushrooms. I'm using 1 package of mushrooms for this 1 cup of risotto. You can use dried mushrooms and rehydrate them, and you can actually use the hot water that you've rehydrated your dried mushrooms in for your risotto as the stock. Just don't dump it in because you will have dirt at the bottom. And nobody wants to eat dirt. Almost done. This is all the prep, basically. This is the extent of the prep. So it's really not a difficult dish. It's something that pretty much anybody can do. If you can chop an onion, you can chop garlic. You can even put in a little food processor, a mini chopper if you want, and your mushrooms. So it's really not that difficult to do. Okay. We've got 3 more. And then we're done. And the fun part begins. Perfect. So, everything is chopped up. Let me just discard my garbage. I don't think I want to see skins lying around. Not very pretty. So now we're just sort of softening our onion a little bit. It's basically flavoring the oil and the butter. And now we're just going to throw our mushrooms in. And now we can crank it up a little bit. And just remember, mushrooms have a lot of moisture inside of them. So you're best off with a higher heat, just to sort of get a little bit of browning on them before you put salt on them, because as soon as you put salt on your vegetables, it releases the moisture and they will get a little bit soggier. So let's try to get a little bit of color and nuttiness from these mushrooms. So this will be moved out of the way. And as you see, we're down to very little things by this side here, because this is, we don't want the pot overboiling. Keep an eye on your stuff. Things happen when you're not paying attention. This out of the way. Perfect. All right. So we're going to brown our mushrooms a little bit. This here, and I know that the stock is really hot. I'm just going to turn it off, because you don't need to keep boiling it. You just want to have hot stock, because you will be ladling it in, 1 ladle at a time, into your rice, into your arborio, and mixing. You will see. It's amazing the difference in this rice from regular rice. Let's cook. Get this going a little bit. I'm going to add a touch more olive oil. It's already starting to smell pretty good in here. They're starting a little bit to change color. The onions are getting nice and translucent, because you don't want raw onion or raw garlic. So everything is cooking very, very nicely. They're all coming together. It's like a little party in the pan. And once your onions are all cooked, once your mushrooms are all cooked, to the doneness that you would like, just remove them from the pan. And then we're going to start with the risotto. So if you weren't making mushroom risotto and you're making plain risotto, you will eliminate the mushroom step. You will just do the onions, the garlic, then you're going to throw your risotto rice in. You will jump in basically at this next step, eliminating the mushrooms. Beautiful. And here we go. Mushrooms are beautiful. And you can use whatever you like. So you can use cremini, button, shiitake. You can use a variety. If you're living up north here, which I'm assuming everybody who's watching this is, there are piles of mushrooms to forage. Chanterelles, bollets, there's all kinds of free mushrooms available. So now we're just going to remove this from the pan. touch more olive oil to pan. Go. And the risotto is going to go in. Just like that. And we're just going to sort of lightly toast it, just for a couple of minutes. It's not going to take very long. Just get it nicely coated. And when you're toasting it, it actually brings out a slightly nutty flavor, so it's really nice. Now here is the option that's not necessary, but I personally enjoy it, is about 1/4 cup of white wine, dry white wine. This is used to deglaze the pan and add some lovely flavor to your risotto. Not necessary if you don't have white wine, or if you don't like wine, or whatever it may be, you don't need to use it. Now the whole trick with risotto is you never leave it alone. You just keep giving it a little bit of love, a little bit of mixing. So now most of that white wine has already evaporated. So we will start ladling, a ladle at a time, of this hot stock. Add the hot stock and start mixing. And once this gets a little more absorbed and you see like the liquid has gone down substantially, you keep adding another ladle, and you'll just continuously do that throughout the process, and then the risotto will be cooked, so you will have a creamy-ish texture with some rice, which will be lovely. Mixing away, and it doesn't take long for it to start to absorb. It really doesn't. And the more you're moving it is the more you're releasing all the starches, which gives it that creamy kind of texture. There are risotto shortcuts. Don't use them. Take your time and make a beautiful risotto. It's well worth it. The ladle goes in. Facial here. It's coming along. This goes great as a side dish or as a main. So if you're going to make it as a main, again, it could be vegetarian, or you can add shrimp, you can add chicken, you can have some sliced skirt steak or beef on it. The options are limitless. So have fun with it. Starting to look quite lovely. It's amazing how quickly it starts coming together. The whole process shouldn't take more than about 20 minutes. Seems like a long time, but when you think about, you're putting a pot of rice on the stove, you have to bring the water up to a boil, put the rice in, bring it, let it steam for about 20 minutes. It's not that different, but you're getting a much, much more delectable and elegant rice dish. Can impress people with this. Okay, so again, the liquid is coming, it's almost all evaporated. It's getting there. So just so you guys know, again, my name is Judy. My company is Eats All Good. I am a personal cook and caterer, and I'm located in the township of Armour, just outside of Berks Falls, and I do healthy, delicious, fresh meals made specifically for you. And my motto is travel the world with your taste buds. Everybody's kind of stuck at home now. Nobody's traveling, so let's go on a trip with our palates and have some fun. So choose a country and decide where you want to go. Another ladle of broth will go in. And you can use box broth, you can use homemade broth, you can use the bouillon cubes, you can truly make it easy for yourself. Once you start worrying about limitations, you're not going to do it. So Ignore whatever limitations you think are there and have fun. And your family and your belly will thank you. It's getting there. Start seeing it getting a little creamier. Let it bubble up a little bit. And you can see the rice is actually like it's expanding, right? Because rice is it's a dry grain, so as soon as it starts absorbing the water, it will increase in size as well. So 1 cup of rice should feed like 3 to 4 people once it's cooked. Unless you're a huge risotto fan, just keep the whole thing for yourself. Oh, and I also do want to mention that I am partnering with Algonquin Fine Foods in Magnetawan, where all these ingredients will be available to you. And just ask for Aileen. She is awesome. There you can also buy shrimp or chicken or other vegetables, whatever you would require to make other dinners, or make this one your own. And it's getting nice and creamy now. It's really starting to look more risotto-like, I guess you could say. I don't know if you can see, but I'm just going to show you a little bit how it's getting more and more creamy. It's almost like a rice pudding-ish kind of a thing. And this is a very specific rice. This is called arborio rice, and it's a very short grain Italian rice. So don't use your regular like minute rice or white rice or basmati rice. It won't work. So you specifically must get some arborio rice, and it goes a long way. 1 package will keep you going for quite a while. And we're going to add another spin. We're getting to the end of our broth, which means our risotto should be ready fairly soon. And this is why you don't want to have cold broth going in, because if you have cold broth going in, you're going to cool down the temperature of the rice and the whole cooking, and you're going to have to start reheating it up all the time. So definitely make sure that your stock or your broth is hot. It will accelerate the process and just give you a better result. Let's let it get a little boiling. I'm having too much fun stirring. Creamy. Now you can always leave it, like I said, as is. You can top it at the end with some fresh herbs if you just want to keep it simple and really make it look pretty. It's always nice to put a pop of color on the end, whether it be parsley or chives, any kind of like herbaceous, depending on what you're serving it with. It's always nice to use something like that. It just brightens everything up. It's looking good. I love seeing the little bubbles. It's very exciting. just want to make sure that the rice is actually cooked. I don't want to have this beautiful creamy risotto with hard rice. That would not work. So that's what the time is for, is to make sure that the rice is cooked and you've gotten that nice, beautiful, creamy texture. It's almost like the texture of kind of like porridge, oddly enough, but much better tasting as far as I'm concerned. Going to get a little spatula. It's a little quieter than the wooden spoon scraping at the bottom. It's looking so nice. Now at this point I'm going to season you a little bit. I wouldn't overly season it because cheese has salt. The Parmesan cheese is salty. I use Himalayan pink salt. It's a little less salty, oddly enough. So, and some freshly ground black pepper. Which again, if you don't like pepper, don't put it in. Okay. Ooh, see, it's starting to get a little stickier and thicker. Looking good. Okay, I think we have one final ladle left of stock. So I'm actually just gonna, maybe one more after that. Still a little bit left. I thought it was the final ladle. And it very possibly could be if the rice is cooked. Lovely. Now you do want your rice to have a little bit of a bite. It's called al dente, which is like firm to the tooth, just like pasta, unless you like softer pasta, I guess personal preference, but this rice should, because it's such a creamy risotto, like the actual base of it is kind of creamy, we really want to have some sort of texture in it, which is to have a tiny little, not a hard bite, but tooth tender. So it's not like something that's sticking in your teeth or feeling terrible, but it's something that you feel like you're actually eating something and you're not just eating mush. Do a little bubble dance for a minute again. It's coming along. It is definitely coming along. Now, it is good time just to see texturally how far the rice has cooked. No, it still needs some time because it still has a lot of a bite, not just a little bit of a bite, a lot of a bite. So it definitely needs some more time. But it's good. Flavor-wise, it's good. So it's not a leave it and forget it kind of a dish, just so you know. This is definitely, you're gonna have to put a little bit of stirring time in. It's a good time to listen to a few favorite songs, watch a program, whatever it may be. Have fun. Cooking should be fun, because it leads to eating. I think everybody likes to eat. it's getting there. That last bit is pretty much absorbed, so I'm just going to add the last bit in. This will go off to the side. And we are down to our final leg here. Now, if your rice isn't cooked and you've run out of stock, heat up more stock. Just stick it in the microwave or in a little pot on the stove. It happens sometimes. I mean, it's not an exact science. That's the beauty of cooking. It's more by feel and by care and by touch and smell and taste. Baking, you have to be a lot more precise. Everything is a measured ingredient because it's more like chemistry. If you mix up an ingredient or mix up a quantity, your whole dish could be ruined. It's very hard to like totally destroy a dish when you're cooking. Like it really is hard. Unless you just burn everything. Or put a whole bunch of salt or sugar or something. But there we go. So it's definitely coming together now. So I'm going to continue to let that finish up. The mushrooms are going to go back in, and as I was saying, I do like a little green, so I do have some chives that I got from my garden that I'm just going to chop up a little bit to throw on top just to make it pretty, basically. Chives. Nothing grand, they don't have to be perfect, doesn't really matter, it's just some color and some flavor, because chives are delicious. Okay, so this looks like it's really starting to come together. Turn it down just a little, because I do want the rice to cook, but I don't want to like burn anything, right? So get rid of this spoon. Get a fresh spoon. Don't double dip. Oh, it's getting better. Definitely getting better. And like in real life, I think I need a little bit more stock. Not everything works out perfectly. The magic of TV. So just give me a moment. I'm actually just going to get some hot water since I have so much stock in there. I don't actually need the flavor. I just need some liquid. I'm back. So it's always a good idea to keep a kettle going or have like boiling water in your kettle when you're cooking, just because you don't know if you're going to require any additional hot liquid. It's getting there. Won't be too much longer, I promise. Just to be sure. Going a little bit. Come on, rice, hurry up and cook. Can't hurry rice. It's like asking boiling water to hurry up. Doesn't happen. splash more, and I think we will be good. So it could be 5 cups of liquid, could be 4 cups of liquid. It depends on how quickly your liquid is evaporating. So I could have had my stove up a little bit higher, so the liquid was evaporating faster than it was cooking the rice through. It happens. It's all par for the course. Okay, we're gonna let that come again, start to bubble, bubble, bubble. Then we're going to add the mushrooms back in. And then we're gonna grate some freshly grated Parmesan cheese over it. And serve it up. It is nice and creamy though. It definitely has a very nice loose texture, which it's supposed to be. You don't want it clumpy, you want it kind of loose. Alright, so we're going to throw the mushrooms back in now. If you're not cooking, if you don't want to make it with mushrooms, you don't put the mushrooms back in. If you're making it with broccoli or something like this, this is when you'll be throwing all your veggies in. Broccoli, you don't even have to really pre-cook because it steams so quickly, and you don't want to have mushy broccoli. You would like to have some sort of bite to your broccoli. So you can just cut out your florets, throw it in at this point. The steam will actually cook the broccoli right for you. Loose. Don't want it to tighten up on me. I want it to keep it fairly loose. Cool. I think we're just about done. Move that out of the way. Fresh bowl. You can see what it's going to look like. Just a touch. So again, a touch more liquid because we don't want it to tighten up. You want, when you shake your pan, that it actually moves. The risotto, I mean, not the pan. Like the actual risotto will shake around in the pan. If not, it's going to sort of seize up, and that's not good. All right, element goes off at this point. Beautiful. Let's put some cheese in there. And put as much as you, or as little as you like. There's no rule when it comes to cheese, as far as I'm concerned. I love cheese. So, go crazy. If you're making it vegan, you can use a nutritional yeast for the cheesy kind of a flavor. And obviously you would be omitting the butter, and you would just be using olive oil. Okay. And this spoon. Here is your mushroom risotto. You can even grate a little more cheese on top. And throw some chives. And voila, mushroom risotto, courtesy of Eats All Good and me and a Malvin Staycation. Thanks, guys.